Section 1 is politics. Permanent reform passed now. Young concluded. Capito's bullish about permanent reform. There's an appetite for permanent growing every day. When conversation Republican and appetite buying from everybody they didn't have before. However, Biden's political capital is key. Dylan 23. Biden was skeptical of Democrats' back legislation. We wouldn't have vote for hesitance, and we're going to continue to advocate for it. The win is closing. Weaver 111. It would be important to act on permanent reform in 23 before another political issue in the next election. Unfortunately, biometric bans are unpopular. Parker 21. Proposal to ban have Larry limited success. Bills failed in 70 states where legislators succeeded to limited law enforcement. 70% of Americans are comfortable with tech. Ultimately, 25 pages work and symbols solicit criticism, containing loopholes, and an enforcement use of political capital. Effective permanent curbs, climate change in U.S. China war, averting extinction. Aaron 13. U.S. depends on China for minerals critical to military readiness. Complex permitting is problem. Warren companies wait 10 years to mine, tackling abuse and clean tech and growth and costs. The minerals crisis put energy security risk to keep comments here corrupting Congress without delay streamline permitting. Warming isn't gender neutral. UNW 22. Women experience the greatest effects of climate change. Women have less natural resources. Ag is the most important employment. During drought, women work harder. Girls have to leave school. Women face increased gender-based violence, creating a vicious cycle of vulnerability. Potential to is federal. And federalism is strong. Newport 22. States over the action. The Supreme Court has recent decisions increase the power of states versus federal government. State data shows the public is more confident in the state's government. Affirming shatters the state-federal cooperation that undergirds effective federalism in two ways. First is criminal justice reform. Article 5. The federal system of the U.S. is based on bedrock premise that the criminal justice policy at the core of state, not national responsibility. Congress must stay within its sphere. This is true with biometrics. CPM 22 finds historically states regulate biometric tools. In 2008, Illinois passed by for the gold standard for biometric legislation. A wave of action can be pushed for criminal justice reform. Local governments take different approaches. And it's referable. Proper 19. When federal policy is absent of state nature, is laboratory and experiment without risk to the rest of the country. That approach works when spreading power grid, pathway giving the industry incentive to come to the table. Affirming guarantees policy failure. Gardner 20. The Fed cannot enforce criminal initiative. Absent call from state and local police. Sub-federal jurisdiction will be large enough to nullify national scale federal enforcement. The Fed may repeal the provision marijuana such as abolition is plausible. Second is preemption. The government enforces federal laws through preemption, specifically balanced in 25. In the context of biometric legislation, there are two schemes of preemption. Based on preemption, and local governments are permitted to impose more stringent standards. Sealing preemption will prohibit biometrics. Affirming thus subverts precedents. You can 22. There's strong concern for federal privacy laws. Serve as floor but not a ceiling. There must be room for states. Sealing preemption also prevents enforcement. Civil 22. State attorney generals enforce privacy legislation. 9 AG send a joint letter to Congress between any new federal privacy law must be a floor and a ceiling and must not preempt existing laws. If they want AG support, a federal bill must allow the states to pass future legislation. And states' rights suffer. Berco 11. Jurisdictional validity is the quintessential question of federalism, state power, collapse clause exchanging Calabrese in 95. Federalism keeps the peace. Why we don't have a Northern Ireland, Cheshire, or Quebec problem. There's nothing that's done more to promote peace, prosperity, and freedom of both the international and subnational level. Federalism swept across the world to do global emulation of America. Low 9 furthers as demand at regional levels are addressed. Frustrations don't build up. Federalism expands political participation, socialization, and democratic consolidation. Broad empirical studies support claims. Conflict is devastating for gender equity. Ward 06. Growing data brings select one of history's greatest silences. Essay of women during armed conflict byproduct of the collapse of social order. Violence is also systemic, destroying bonds within communities. A public act to maximize humiliation by instilling fear and opposing groups. Women are used to send messages. Underview. Extinction outweighs. It's systemically underestimated. We are 16. Ultra risks are inexperienced. Experts warn the public seems less interested. Driving risk in speech is less effective in stimulating reaction. The prefrontal cortex draws on available events for prospection about future scenarios. Large impact deals numbing. Risk lack a single identified individual. Second, it always under any moral framework, future generations and moral uncertainty. Palmer 15. Moral disagreements are deep, but one thing to agree on is whether consequential stay ontologists or virtue ethicists is that reducing external risks is most important. There are trillions upon trillions of possible future people. The view that there's more that determines rightness and consequences isn't the latter doesn't matter. We should take into account moral uncertainty, even if the 1% of well-being of future. Even if only 1% of well-being of future matters, reducing existential risk is most important. 3. It produces ethical actors. Bail 9. The study supports growing findings that existential threats motivate tolerance, egalitarianism, and empathy. Dangerous to threaten humanity, bolster support for peaceful coexistence, useful for seeking peace and conflict. 4. The prior question of structural violence. Wagner 3. We can't describe meaning to that which doesn't appear. Respecting the other must ensure the other continues to exist. This requires us to protect the earth.
Just in case you missed that. Downloading it all. Okay, let me know when y'all got it. It's going to be an off and then case.
I'm downloading it.
My email's loading.
I'm actually going to sit, if that's okay with everyone.
Yeah.
Did you put it in the file share or the?
I put it in the file share.
Oh,
but
okay.
do you want me to send it?
No, it's okay. I was just checking the email. I'm waiting for my thing to refresh. I clicked on it. I think it's downloading. I don't know. Okay, there it is.
Both the off and case are in the same doc.
Yeah.
Good. Anyone not ready? Is interpretation. Once the mission brackets released on Tavern.com for the TOC, debaters must disclose open source software in the open list KF 2023 wiki at most 6 minutes after the last round of the violation is stated. Standards. First, Carroll. Overnight Carroll. New mission rounds are only possible to debaters get interpretation. We don't know what the written doubles and octaves and minimum has sufficient time to Carroll. Several implications. First, class. Both teams have to cover the maximum class by ensuring responses to all arguments and minimizing rebuttal, increasing quality of responses, and stealing strategies for bonus case. But clashes the voter by maximizing our quality and most efficient way to increase education within the span of the tournament. Segments education. Thousands of debaters spectate these late rounds of TOC games, both in the room and online, meaning they're the most important rounds of the season to ensure that debaters have the best quality practice for education about high-level debate, circuit, meta, and news rounds. Segments fairness, because they've had since 10 p.m. on site to prep responses and meticulously look over our case, whereas we couldn't do any of that. Then being able to prep us out and not being able to create in-round abuse, since I would have responses to their new arguments, but they'll be prepared for any contingency. I will send consultancy. The judge can resolve 100% of the unfairness in this round, but there's no guarantee that realistically doesn't solve large structural impacts. Don't let them say not breaking themselves. We have proof that they broke new arguments and disclosed them. We couldn't prep out all that all because he has had access to all of our positions. 3 is small schools. Giving small schools the ability to work overnight for presidents for hitting big school like Strake the next day morning is key. Large schools have more staff and coaches to email chains, meaning they'll be able to make travels regardless if small schools meet our intro, whereas reciprocal is entry. 4th is evidence ethics. Having the night before to round to prep allows debaters to read the full articles of their opponent's cases, maximizing evidence index. They literally have pages of like size 3 font. That's key for a few reasons. First is education. It's important to read high quality, non-misguided evidence in these highly public rounds, reference our first standard. But second is topic lit. Evidence index ensure that it's harder to win on misconstrued arguments at the biggest tournaments of the season. Fairness is a voter. First, all arguments concede authority of fairness because you want the judge to evaluate fairly. But second, do it as a game, and fairness is constituted to every game. So if the debate was unfair, people would drop out. Education is a voter. It's why schools want debating. It's the only portable skill we get. Under B, drop the debater. 2 reasons. First, no difference. Same thing as dropping the argument. But B, it's norm setting. Voting for us is the precedent for a pause and model debate wins and losses determine the direction of the activity. Competing interests, 2 reasons. First, reasonability invites arbitrary judgment intervention since we don't know your guess meter collapses to, and second, collapsing to competing interests is a good thing because we just fight 2 bright lines under an offensive defense of down just like 2 interests. No RBI, 3 reasons. First, it's logical. You shouldn't win for being fair. Second, normally I can't concede the interest of regulars. I'm wrong, forcing me to argue for bad norms. That's these debating. Abusive debaters will just debate theory and get really good at the RBI and debate creating a chilling effect on theory, which synthesizes people from checking back abuse. Next is framing. Prioritize women's issues for 2 reasons. First, because women are traditionally ignored. Policymakers are predominantly men. 222 finds that women are underrepresented at all levels of decision-making worldwide. This creates cyclical women's issues as gender issues have been neglected by many policymakers. Second, because it's a prerequisite to understanding conflict. Taking our own rights, it feels the likelihood of conflict will not diminish under unequal gender hierarchies are reduced or eliminated. The privileging of pictures associated with stereotypical masculinity and states foreign policies contribute to legitimization not only of war but of militarization more generally. Feminists define peace and security in terms that include the elimination of social hierarchies that gender leads to injustice. Thus, the role of the ballot for the team that best partages is women's issues. With that, our contention was abortion. Abortion access in the U.S. is incredibly limited right now. 22 explains the U.S. Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, the piece of legislation that made access to abortion a federal right in the U.S. Already, because of trigger laws put in place before the ruling, abortion is now outlawed in many states. This hurts women in 2 ways. The first is intimidation. Gall 22 finds that fertility and period tracking apps, digital surveillance is becoming increasingly stored in biometric databases. For years, women's reproductive rights, the digital surveillance system routinely used to criminalize individuals. The second is doctors. UB20 writes, the biometric surveillance accumulates the increasingly micro-targeted historically across communities. Digital trails will lead to investigations and persecutions of medical providers and those who assist with abortions. NPR 22 continues, that doctors who want to defy abortion laws say it's too risky since Roe v. Wade was overturned. Healthcare workers deny women abortion procedures in emergency situations, including a woman who's initially not treated for a miscarriage in Ohio or ER. UB continues that amount of biometric data tracking the government is currently capable of changing the nature of every conversation about social injustice, especially in the era lurking backwards towards criminalizing pregnancy outcomes. These new unregulated technological developments will create lifelong devastating penalties for people seeking autonomy over their decisions related to their reproductive health. Preventing women from accessing abortions is disastrous, as those 22 explained that the U.S. already has higher maternal mortality and child poverty than many other countries. This will exacerbate that. About 33.7 million women live in states where there are poised to be new restrictions.
They also was open. Girls.
Yeah, we can. Sure.
Okay. What's more important, theory or the role of the ballot?
Theory, because theory is supposed to be out, role of the ballot supposed to be out.
But that doesn't mean that you should like completely disregard like our role of the ballot event. It's just that if you make that argument later, we would say theory.
So
Because in
your
order to
engagement with
have,
the role of the ballot
the
is
best debate about the role of the ballot, the
Yeah,
debate had to be fair initially,
Yeah.
but our pre-fiat is the theory, which says that it wasn't fair initially.
Okay.
Okay. Let's talk about federalism. What's the internal link as to why states having more rights leads to extinction?
States having more rights prevents extinction.
Oh yeah.
The other way around.
Extinction.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
There's
You
2
can do
ones within it. One is like the management of high-level issues. The argument is that the states deal with like local issues themselves, and if the federal government is only in charge of issues like going to war, you lead to more rational decision making on those issues because they're less overwhelmed. Second, it also curtails aggression because the states have different like stances on different issues, and when they're all negotiating at the federal level and it's all or nothing for those states, that leads to high aggressive actions and rash actions. But if they're solving it themselves, they can form a testing ground and each do what they want. So you don't have like.
Why is that not true over controversial issues right now, like gun control or abortion, where states want different things and the federal government says you have to do something, or like even marijuana?
So the supremacy clause gives the government the ability to preempt state law. The difference is that in the context of criminal justice reform, that is not the case, and same with privacy reform. Our Barca Adams is fantastic in saying that state power and federalism are the quintessential, or liberty and criminal justice reform are the quintessential aspects of state governance. Example of this is marijuana. Illegal federally, but the states nullify it and do whatever they want with it because the federal government doesn't have the ability to enforce the supremacy clause via the 10th Amendment in the states. So they don't have other gun control things. They don't control. Yeah. Okay. John.
Yeah. So on like case, has anyone gotten arrested for an abortion from biometric data?
Worse than that, they've actually died. Or well, yeah. So they wanted to go get an example in case we say that a woman in Ohio went to go get an abortion, but the doctor was like, no, because I'm scared that you're being tracked. So even though you cross state lines to come here and it's legal here, I don't want to give you the abortion. And then she didn't see it that. Okay.
So can you give me a quantification of like how broad of an issue this is, like how many women are affected?
Well, I'm saying that women are affected right now, and in case we say that 33.7 million of them are going to be in states where they're not going to have access to that anymore, but as a whole, we're just saying it's an argument that affects women at a really personal level and like should be prioritized as today's debate. Okay, we have 30 seconds left. Let's see. You say conflict is bad for gender inequality. Is it specifically worse than any other large-scale impacts that you read, like global warming or even extinction?
What was the question?
Is conflict worse than climate change for women?
Extinction outweighs.
Yeah.
That's most important.
Okay, but extinction is also linked to climate change, right? So like the internal link to extinction, there's one at climate change and there's one at conflict.
Wait, one really quick question. So you guys have impacts to women, or I guess sorry.
Okay, I'll send it out.
Can you send one through the email chain and one through file share?
Yeah, let me download it. Chain one is sent. So is the fellowship one. That's substantial.
Yeah, I'll let you know.
You said you did do the fashion one?
Yeah.
Okay, give it a
Oh, is there another one?
Oh wait.
Yeah, it'll all be on the same sheet wherever the disclosure is. All the theory stuff is extended. There's an interp that's in the doc.
I still haven't gotten the file share one. But I got the
Yeah,
email,
me
so it's
neither.
fine. I got the email though. So.
I need it in the file share.
Okay, let me try it again.
If it's fast, can I just like ask clarifying questions after? Because
We'll
if
take
it's not
questions.
done.
We'll take questions.
Our room's loading. Okay. Okay, I think I see it in there now.
Yeah.
Okay, sweet. All right, anybody not ready? So theory first, then the case. All right. All right. That's 3 minutes. On the shelf, first counter-interpretation. Invaders disclose OS at least 30 minutes before the round. Solves all their offense. 30 minutes is enough for preppets and is also the widespread norm in the community. You cannot change anything. Overnight preppets are incredibly rare. No students don't release brackets, meaning you're not setting any big norms, and that means that something kind of outweighs. Even if you're setting marginal norms, make a review the extent to which the norms are set. You should gut check this theory shelf. The idea of disclosing before night also encourages teams to be burnt out, i.e. the tournament ended really late last night, and also people wake up at different times. Doing prep outs overnight does not solve. Also, all of our cases have been disclosed previously on the wiki, and even if they have proved that we have sort of broken a new case, that encourages in-depth debates and also encourages you to use prep, but also critical thinking skills.
it's the perfect mix of both. 30 minutes is a widespread norm in the computer. They're not going to change anything by saying that you should disclose before a tournament. They say that we had until 10 p.m., but they also did not disclose their OS talk from the last week. Only this morning they edited to say that they read it from round 6, which proves that they violate and they don't have any offense here. They say that it's good for small schools, but small schools get access to it after the tournament anyways, which means that they get access to benefits. The evidence ethics. All of our evidence has been read before, which means that you can also check it and email chains verify, which means that you're able to get access to the evidence ethics like it's in 3.5 because there's lots of text in the cards. You can just make it bigger. Well, that solves in round. Okay. Second, counterinterpretations. Debate reading disclosure theory must have round reports or docs uploaded for all rounds they have competed in throughout the year. They have not done so, which means their disclosure practices are ethically bankrupt. Literally, look at their wiki. They have disclosed marginally throughout the entire year and started disclosing for TOC, proves bad norm setting and turns your disclosure model because people won't follow it if they don't believe it's genuine, and it means that you're clearly doing it for a battle, which is bad. It undermines the purpose of it turns your discourse arguments because fairness is marginally harm, but marginal increases or decreases in fairness are inevitable. You should vote on the topical education of this debate because that's why we are here and what we have came here to do. And interpretation. Debaters should have opponents before round to meet specific disclosure norms. They have not done so. If they had asked us, our contact information is on the wiki, we could have met their norm. However, they just expect us to do this. These surprise tactics where people nitpick disclosure theory and all means it's impossible to make. You can always identify a marginal benefit to their practice, but never be able to sufficiently prove that it's like an on-hand harm. But also, it defeats the purpose of disclosure theory in the first place. If we agree it's a good thing because if you can constantly nitpick disclosure, it means that people will be reluctant to disclose in the first place because they're constantly updating norms. Okay. Case. On the framework, 1, causality runs opposite. Goal scene 1. War is not a product of gender or any single cause. Rather, war fuels these injustices. If you want justice, work for peace. 2, root cause is false. 2 base 17. Individual aggression may not determine leader aggression. Female leaders, like any other, consider war. Queens were more likely to fight as aggressors. It was not a male advisor responsible. We observed no effect on traditionally being ignored. So is distinction. That's the 1 NC evidence. 2 is like that. Lots of things are discounted. Winning that something is more important means we ought to pursue it on the roll about. Counter roll about. Whoever knew that better debating. This doesn't exclude their offense, but if we really distinction outweighs that the roll about is bad, we should win. 2. When focusing on women, evaluate who best prioritizes through consequences of affirming. Merely describing the problem doesn't do anything. Debating policy implementation mobilizes discourse. 3, we center both arguments in case in-depthly describe impacts on women. On abortion, group links 1 is untopical. Ollie 22. Pregnancy prosecutors rely on GPEX warrants, online searches, text, GBS data, purchasing history, and phone calls. None of those are biometric recognition, and even if certain men fall under the category of technique, this is a massive all calls looking up where to get an abortion is better of intent and period dates. 2, legal protection checks, CRS. 24th Amendment protections apply when reviewing evidence of abortion. Federal statutes limit access to healthcare that Biden directed agencies strengthen protection of info related to reproductive health. And private companies solve. Ollie 22. Apps that allow users to track menstrual cycles are doubling down on privacy as concerns over digital data rise. 3, the chilling effect still exists independent of biometric. That's the 1AC NPR evidence. It's inserted for reference. That turns the app. Letter 14. 55.2. Oh, wait, actually, no. I didn't read the link to the trend. Biometric solves sex trafficking. In Parker 20. Facial recognition helps investigators narrow searches for suspects quickly, finding missing children, rescue trafficking victims, and assist analysts. This turns the app. Leader 14. 55.2% reported at least one abortion, with 29.9% reporting to always because trafficking victims don't have access to clinics. So the healthcare posited by the app is impossible for them because baseline suffering rendered is also higher. Trauma is intergenerational, and there is no recourse while adoptions can at least mitigate the impact of reproductive surveillance. 5. Biometrics facilitate financial inclusion. OI 21. Savers use fingerprints, access accounts, and probable tool and financial access for families in poverty. Traditional methods are often impractical. They're illiterate. Those people have difficulty producing. Financial independence is key. Condi 19. Economic autonomy reduces financial dependence and independent partner violence. Economic security prevent violence before it happens. This is how we scopes. Scope NCADB 18. 1 in 3 women have experienced physical violence when in partner. Inherently turns abortion greater financial outcomes, reduce the need for abortion. 6. Biometrics restrict explicit internet content. Page 23. Websites that offer mature content don't have age verification aside from pop-up buttons. Online verification compares itself to a government issued ID using biometric detection. Programs like Instagram have already started integrating that. Turns sexism outweighs FND texting. Since widespread availability of porn, kids have been exposed to toxic gender stereotype nature. Messages are male domination. Average age of exposure is 9 by 10.
Can you just send what you want? Or
It's
send
the
what-
last line of FTND. That's it.
All right. So did you read that card or no?
Yeah. Up until 10.
Yeah. Trey and I are gonna take some time.
Starting. Wait. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. I think. Should we,
Okay, hold on. 121.
The order is going to be on theory, on sub, then their case.
Sorry, one more time.
So it's just going to be down like all of your like the 3 counterinterprets that you read, and then it's going to be down the framing, then down with the responses you read against abortion, then your case. I'll send a doc. All this stuff on theory and my case, like the front lines, are like off the dome, but I'll send all the other responses. They have cards for it.
Okay.
I'm sending it to the email chain. Nobody else send it through the file share. Do you want me to send it through the file share chain? Then just give me 1 second. Okay, the email chain is sent. Okay, I just dropped in the file share as well.
I'm good.
I'm still waiting.
Okay, cool. Just let me know when you're good. We can start.
I'm gonna use the email, but I'm gonna hit view all message, so give it a second to load.
What's the?
If you just click the email chain, you should be there.
It's like, I'll try refreshing.
I just got the
Okay, cool.
Wait,
No, he did.
I
was just
still
saying,
got
saying
it.
I got
It's just that
Yeah.
like I need it's not downloading, so or
No, you're
I
good, you're
view
good.
all message, so I'm just waiting for that to happen. Okay. I clicked on it. It's
Okay.
on the file share. Is it supposed
I couldn't get where it to work, so I just used the email.
It says quarters TOC, or is it just like it's not showing up in the file share?
No, like
Showing blank.
yeah, showing it's blank.
Showing it's
Okay,
blank.
it just opened up in my email, so we're good.
Are you able to see in the file share now?
So it's did you update it right now? Or?
I know.
I'm just looking at the email.
Yeah,
I
got
don't
it.
really. Are you good?
I'm good.
Okay.
All right. Order again. It's just going to be down the shells, framing, subs, like their responses and our responses. Okay. Let's start on the counter. They say that debaters must disclose open source 30 minutes before they're on. The problem is they violate their own shell for 2 reasons. First of all, they should have disclosed after their dubs run, before their octos run, but they didn't do it. They didn't disclose 30 minutes before, which means that they violate their own shell. But second of all, they disclosed their octos run right now at like literally at 12 o'clock. But the problem is their link didn't work, so they tried to disclose 30 minutes before they run, but we couldn't even verify against check against the disclosure because the disclosure doc was completely empty. Next, let's go into like the responses they read. First, they say that debaters are burnt out and they should be able to do it in the first place. This is non-verifiable. We would say that like in most worlds, debaters would probably prep out the other team for as long as they could, which means that it's non-verifiable whether they were burnt out or not. Next, they say that we should gut check this argument. Our review story is so clear. They have 12 hours literally to prep us out because we've been at this entire tournament and all of our positions are on the wiki in the first place, which means that they got prepped out all of our positions, but I have no idea what their elim strat was. So then they say that it's previously disclosed. The problem is we don't know what combination of arguments they're reading on the wiki in the first place. Second of all, we have evidence that they have broken completely new in the last round and completely different argument, but they specifically did disclose that there's no clash or critical thinking. On critical thinking specifically, we say that in-round abuse is always going to outweigh, and so far as they have the advantage in this round, you should drop them because they have dropped all leeway about how in-round abuse is the most important thing for the judges' ballot. Don't let them bring that up later. Then they say that we violate our own shell because like we changed the FemIR. Our round report said that FemIR was already open source. We just changed it to say it was round 6. You should use reasonability for this. It doesn't violate. Then they say that small schools can do it after the tournament. We say that this isn't enough insofar as they didn't disclose after their dubs round. All big schools are always going to get the emo trend, but small schools aren't going to have enough resources to do this in the first place. Let's go to their counterintuitive about round reports. First of all, they say that we haven't done it. They also haven't done they also haven't done round reports for a significant amount of tournaments. They violate their own shells. Second of all, we just recently learned it was a good norm, and also this incentivizes unfairness because it incentivizes us to lie about our round reports, even though we don't have our flows in the first place. But then they say that the most important thing is to focus on topical education. We would say that fairness is a prerequisite. Let's go to the role of the ballot and the framing step. They say that the root cause is false in the first place. We would say that gender equality is a prerequisite to all sorts of work. They give you no awareness of why extinction comes first. Then they say it's a prerequisite to understanding any sort of conflict. We say that insofar as we say that the masculine perception is what is causing war in the first place, then you need to prioritize women. Let's go to the role of the ballot step. They say that the role of the ballot is to prefer the team who does the better debating in the first place. We would say that the role of the ballot is to prefer the team that has the most fair debate. Insofar as we tell you that we're creating the most fair debate, that's a prerequisite to their role of the ballot. We are the team that does the better debating because we're creating a better norm. Let's go to their third intent about nitpicking. They say that we could have asked them to do this. One, that creates no norm setting. They're just going to do it for this round. Second of all, we're not nitpicking. There's an actual abuse story in this round. They're only going to do it for this round, but they're going to do it for every single round after. On abortion specifically, let's look at their specific responses. First, they say it's non-topical. We would say that it is actually topical insofar as we talk about specific period tracking apps that are only through biometrics. Then they talk about legal protections. We would say that this applies to states in where Roe v. Wade is states that have applied Roe v. Wade, and that's why there are legal protections these days, but biometrics specifically talk this. Then they talk about sex trafficking. One, their evidence is based on biased data from Spotlight in the first place, so it's not true. So it's not true. But second of all, we say that biometrics actually make it easier for sex traffickers to target victims of the process as a prerequisite. Then they talk about financial inclusion. We say that biometrics actually make it easier for hackers to hack it in the first place, which means that there's no financial inclusion, especially in banks. Let's go to their case. Let's go to the first contention about permitting. First of all, their evidence is centered around the fact that it's not bipartisan, but the ban is bipartisan, but it's bipartisan calls to regulate biometric tech is one issue we share common ground on, and bipartisan legislation aims to address emerging tech. Second of all, you can debunk as political capital is not true, as Cat 16 finds as political capital theory. The fields consider constitutional restraints as the president does not have the authority to force lawmakers to vote one way or the other. But finally, there's no internal link as to how this leads to a China war, or how we're going to stop selling these minerals to China. I would think we do this either way. On federalism specifically, they'll tell you what specific types of reform are going to be stopped specifically because we're not doing criminal justice. But second of all, you can go to the NSD 23 part about racial bias, about how facial recognition is less accurate in identifying people with darker skin tones. In some cases, police have wrongfully arrested people in the first place, which means that it gets a lot worse in their world. And on preemption specifically, just analytics, we passed Roe v. Wade already, but we would say that states have the independent decision to do it. There's no reason why. And on extinction specifically, we see that policymakers are admitting women right now. There's no reason why to prefer extinction.
All right, John and I are going to take a breath. 3 minutes, starting.
Was that 245?
Yeah.
Okay, good cross.
Yes.
You can take first. You can take first question.
Okay. When evaluating the theory debate, is reasonability more important or competing interests?
Competing interests.
Okay. You have a question.
Wait, can I take a question? So you read a counter-interest saying you should disclose. You violated your own counter-interest. The implication was drop the debater, right?
I said that if you read disclosure theory, you should disclose for all previous rounds and or have round reports. We do not read
No,
disclosure
before
theory.
that, your original shell was we should just disclose open source
30 minutes before the round.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
So what was the implication of?
It just solves your offense. Like the CI, that CI is not offensive. We're just offensive. The implications
So
we
it's
did
just
make, the implications we did make though were on burnout, and also like the.
So what was the implication on burnout? Because I think verbatim
Yeah,
you
okay,
just said
okay.
that
So-
debaters get burned out.
Yeah, which terms the ability to engage in debate in the first place. Like if I'm forced to after every round, like rounds ended pretty late last night, to have to disclose, upload round reports, etc. Then also I said that you don't really solve a lot of stuff. Like there are very few tournaments where there is a night before a tournament, there is a bracket released. Like this is a very specific instance of disclosure, in which case like the norms you're setting, I mean, we all agree disclosure is good.
Yeah.
In fact, like our wiki is probably better
and
than
you didn't
y'all's.
do it. Like
Yeah, no,
disclosure is good, and then you didn't do it.
No. So-
Everyone can go look at the wikis. Like
so-
there's one that is clearly
And
more
everyone can
ethical.
also look at the screenshots that we have that say
Which
that
weren't
you
in the-
didn't disclose
okay,
dubs
where
on
are
Octos.
those
I can send them right now. You didn't disclose dubs till literally this morning, and then you did
disclosed
disclose
Octos
Octos
and the
4
links were
times,
there.
and none of the links worked.
Octos
So
was right
you
after
didn't know your
doubles.
case. Yeah, it wasn't disclosed.
There was a 30-minute
If you
time
didn't
period which
disclose the
does
round from
say-
Okay,
last
wait.
night until
We
this
can send you
morning.
like the tournaments.
I have a
Anyways.
question. If the links weren't working, why didn't you ask? Like, I didn't know that the links weren't working. I'm sorry, but like, why didn't you ask us to like?
The round starts in like 20 minutes. We got here. We have screenshots of like
You said we
pairings come
disclosed
out.
at 12.
Yeah, pairings come out.
but
Pairings come out.
They came
We
out at
looked-
like 12:45.
Pairings came out. We looked at your wiki. We looked at the links. Didn't disclose. You had up till 6. Like you had from last night to disclose.
Okay, well I slept
still
in. I
didn't
don't know. Like,
Alright, so the problem is, like, you're trying to make this argument about how like norm setting doesn't happen beyond this individual tournament, right?
Yes.
The problem is our argument isn't just about norm setting; it's about in-round abuse as well. Like that's a whole thing that was completely dropped
Okay.
and constructed.
Sure.
So, all right, that's the way those.
y'all want a question?
No. Yeah. Let's talk about your nitpicking and your interp about how like we should have contacted you before.
Yeah.
So in LD and policy, do people still read theory, even though there's like competing interps all the time about like the best model for debate?
I don't know.
Yes.
well,
Yes, they do.
okay.
So like in LD and policy, if that like happens all the time, and the people don't ask each other, oh, like
Okay.
can you disclose?
In LD
this
and
model?
policy, and
This
if you
model.
look at like the people still in for TOCLD, like none of them have disclosed for any of their outrounds, like at all.
I'm saying disclosure is like a norm.
Yeah, it is a norm, but this specific mode of disclosure, in literally any other event, like NDT, CETA, high school policy, like high school LD, nobody cares if you disclose, like, because you have the positions you read. There's just a sense of understanding that there's times between rounds that disclosing the night before doesn't really do a whole lot.
The problem is you need to disclose after you're done.
Okay, wait, we're gonna say remaining 15, starting now. Yeah.
Okay. 2 seconds. Okay, order will be the theory shell, then I'll just kind of be going down them all, starting on our intern shell.
Which one?
Like our intern,
Oh,
not
okay,
counter.
okay, yeah,
And then I'll go to our case, then your case.
Yeah, that's good.
Cool. Okay. First, extender intern debater should ask opponents to meet specific disclosure norms. They say that first, most importantly, they say you should perfect counter interpretations. Well, guess what? They don't have a counter interpretation to our intern. Theory is not about what you do; it's about what you justify. And they're justifying in-round nitpicking because they're justifying constantly modifying disclosure norms in order to satisfy getting the ballot, but not actually setting a good norm because you're going to keep modifying it. This turns all of their standards because eventually people just stop disclosing because they know they're going to have to pay disclosure because it'll just be some new form of disclosure and some new nitpick that's like infinitely, like it'll infinitely keep changing, so people will never stop disclosing. This turns all their standards. So prefer us on that. Then extend our CI about round reports. Debaters reading disclosure theory must have read round reports or docs uploaded for all rounds they have competed in throughout the year. So first, they say that we violate. However, we didn't read disclosure theory, so we don't violate the interpretation. Also, once we realized this was the norm, we uploaded previous rounds, which checks back. And also, it's about showing our commitment to the norm because we went back and did it. And then also, like on the doubles round, that shows no in-round abuse, and they're talking about the in-round abuse is most important, and the doubles round has no in-round abuse for this round. Then, on our case, extend like the federalism argument. Federalism is strong, states are center of policy attention, and have the public trust banning biometrics reverses that because it's historically imposed force on state use, allowing for additional room for regulation. A full ban is the ceiling that states can overcome, breaking precedent, causing local agencies to ignore regulations, which takes out the act. Also cause extinction around the globe as the globe models U.S. federalism prevents conflict by placating regional demands. So, on the responses. First, we don't say what we're normed. However, that's our second link. It says it's like this preemption argument and that it's over. Also, our evidence is specific to criminal justice reforms. Then they talk about how FRT is like biased and inaccurate. However, so what? The argument about what agencies will enforce and how they'll like what they'll enforce because of the ceiling argument. Then they talk about Roe v. Wade. However, Roe v. Wade proves their uniqueness because it increases state power because they get the decision to choose. However, this is not specific to privacy reforms. We see that implementing a privacy ceiling typically lowers state power, which leads to the collapse of federalism. But most importantly on this argument, they've conceded that it completely takes out their case because there is no enforcement. You have letters from the Attorney General that say they will not enforce a ban even if it is passed. That goes conceded. Then on extinction, they've conceded all of our warrants. They say we don't have a warrant. We gave you 5. First, we said extinction is systemically underestimated by the human consciousness because of the prefrontal cortex. Second, we say it has infinite future generations, so we can't possibly calculate the magnitude and weight. Third, we've got with the moral uncertainty that because we're having a debate about framework, you don't possibly know what the objective moral truth is, and so because of that, you should have, even if there's 0.01% chance risk for right, you should try to prevent extinction. Third, we thought that it creates more moral afterproofs because you're considering yourself within the moral implication of it. And then fourth, they've dropped it as a prior question to structural violence. Then onto their case. Yeah. Okay. First, they dropped the hacking turn. That they say they've dropped the financial inclusion thing. Their only response is hacking with no evidence. They've dropped our specific evidence that says that because of biometrics, even if they can be hacked, they overall make the banking system more secure, and by doing that, they increase financial independence. They've dropped that we outweigh on scope because we affect 1 in 3 women. Second, they've dropped our explicit content turn that specifically says biometrics allow better or prevent access to explicit content, which specifically causes sexism because people see things on the internet that are like really sexist and stuff, and then when they see that, it causes like psychological biases within them that leads to violence. They dropped because it leads to psychological abuse as well as physical abuse. They've dropped that both of these turn their case because overall we're better for women's issues.
Alright. Training starting now. Okay, that's 210.
How much do y'all have left?
That's all crap. Order is just going to be a zero shell. Shells. Okay. Anyone not ready? end of the day, if you believe that there was in-round abuse that occurred in this round, it is a very easy app ballot. Our argument is very, very simple, and it's been extended multiple times. We say that since we've disclosed all of our positions before this tournament, including last night, they had over 12 hours to prep out every single one of our arguments and positions that we disclosed. We walked into this room, A, not knowing what they read in the last 2 elims, and B, not even knowing what they read in the last round because their disclosure practices don't even work. Insofar as you believe that there was in-round abuse that was committed, and we walked into this round structurally skewed against them, you are obviously voting out. A couple of voters. First, we say fairness comes first. This is direct voter into fairness, but fairness prereqs education, because everything you intrinsically say in a debate round asserts that fairness is true because you have to evaluate it fairly in the first place, which means even if they're going to say that education is really important, you have to have the debate to learn education, it implies that the debate is fair in the first place, which is like fairness is a direct prerequisite to education. On the counterintuitive, they say that we had to read round reports, but they can see the term Isha reads in rebuttal that says uploading previous docs, which they say they do, is bad because it incentivizes unfairness. Groups will go back and upload random docs that they had in those rounds and read random round reports, even though they don't even remember what they put in those rounds, because it's structurally unfair. They say they do that, we say it's bad. It doesn't matter if we didn't read a counterintuitive, we're directly turning their argument. On last interp, they say that we should ask the opponents to make specific disclosure norms, but they can see the term that says this is a norm-setting term. We don't ask because we're trying to set norms that you should disclose properly in the first place. One, they're going to try and nitpick and say like there's multiple different issues with disclosure and that we're going to prevent people from disclosing, but they don't even disclose, period. It's not even about specific norms. They didn't even disclose at all. But second, even if they're going to talk about these specific norms that they didn't disclose in the first place, things like their doc not working is a critical element of disclosure. You should check before it works. That's how you get disclosure impacts in the first place. They can see that we are not asking them for norm setting. At that point, you can extend our shell very clearly. We say that you should disclose 60 minutes after the last round. The violations that they did, and we'll send screenshots if you ask for it. Standards they concede is the fairness, which links into in-round abuse, and all of that goes conceded. But second is on small schools. In this exact same scenario, if we were a small school and we didn't have resources from other people, we would have walked into this round structurally skewed, which means next year at TOC, if a team like Strake is in quarters and the small school is hitting them and they don't have a prep out, Strake is structurally advantaged against them. Vote them down to make sure that norm doesn't happen next time. Drop the debaters, really clean. We say that this round was really unfair. You should drop the debaters to set good norms. Oh yeah, and we have evidence that he broke new last round in octos and he didn't disclose it. Go to the roll of the ballot debate. Even if they try and go for 7 this debate and they say that they want to have a roll of the ballot that says that you should prioritize X group or you should vote for sub because of the roll of the ballot, they can see the analysis that Isha reads in rebuttal that says the roll of the ballot debate comes after the theory debate because you have to have a fair debate first in order to actually debate about the substance in the first place. That's why theory comes before sub, which means even if they want to try and go for sub in the back half of the debate, they have to win the theory debate first, or else everything we argue about in this debate was structurally unfair and none of the issues we debate today will matter later. And there's no extension of their roll of the ballot. Okay, ready for Grant?
Yeah.
Okay, you want to take the first question?
How am I supposed to know that like my download docs don't work?
Just check it. Just
So-
click it.
But like I do, and they work for me. And on my wiki, like under team notes, it says, I don't know why this happens. Sometimes the docs don't work. Please, pretty please contact me. It is right there.
Isha, even if you want to say that your Octos thing didn't work, why didn't you disclose that for Dubs?
Because Octos was like right after.
Octos was not right after Dubs. We literally weren't debating.
But you also wait. How is that in-round abuse? Like we didn't debate
That's
Octos.
not in-round abuse. That's separate, is what we're saying. But
So what matters more?
both of them matter.
What matters more?
So
Pick
you
two.
Both of them matter. Like you respond to both of them. These are two separate reasons to
it's
draw
not about one or the other. Our argument is about norm setting and also about in-round abuse. But you've dropped every single argument about why in-round abuse happened because you have 12 hours to cover that and you've been at this entire tournament.
Okay.
So we read the same case we read from round 1. You've switched it multiple different times, and I don't even
Like,
know.
how are you
because
supposed to know
didn't
what Elam
disclose.
strat you were running when you literally broke me last round and like you didn't disclose it?
If I broke you this round, you also wouldn't know my Elam strat.
Yeah, but the problem is, you would have had all of the time to prep out mine. I could have at least looked at your Elam responses and said like, oh, they're reading this new argument, or they're mixing up this new argument, or they're going to choose to collapse on this. It doesn't matter
Okay, do
whether
you
or
have
not
proof-
you
do you have
actually
proof
broke
that we
them.
broke you
But
last
that
round?
doesn't matter.
There is
The
question.
abuse happened. It doesn't
Okay,
matter
I wanna-
whether or not we actually you break you or not, and there's no way to confirm because you didn't disclose.
Okay.
Take your question.
All right. So you said you had a screenshot of us breaking you last round.
Yeah.
So you had our case stuff.
No.
from
No,
last
we
round?
didn't have your case.
Oh, actually, yeah, we did because
Wait. So then, what is
No,
the
wait,
in-round
wait,
abuse?
Let me clarify. One of our debaters from our team sent us, not sent us, but like showed us your case that she got from another email chain from someone else that happened
Literally
in Octos.
today.
Literally this morning.
So how are we supposed to know
So,
you broke me?
Yeah, one, we don't know if you're gonna break new arguments, but 2, at that point, I'm not gonna waste my time prepping out your case when you clearly made like an abuse. You should have disclosed it last night. Now you had way more extra time than I did to prep out your case. I'm not gonna have that debate with you. I'm gonna say like drop you for the violation. That was dumb. You shouldn't have done that. Okay.
I'm sorry. Okay, you have a question.
Yeah. Are we both agreeing that free fiat comes before rolls the ballot?
Like, in the theory comes first, sure. Like, yeah, I don't think we ever made an argument that it doesn't. So.
Okay, cool.
That's fair.
Yeah, I don't have any other.
But you didn't extend anything on case, right?
No.
Okay. So, like, let's say in this final focus, I spent 2 minutes on theory, and nothing on case. Would you say that it would be fair for
Wait,
us
what
to
is
win
your
on case?
offensive theory? Like, when did you ever extend, like, drop the debater? Or, like,
It's the same. We both have paradigm issues. Like, it's the exact same thing as you.
Yeah, it's fine. She's spent 2 minutes on theory.
Okay, and then okay, sure, right. We'll just let it run out. There's about 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Okay. Aft theory. Okay.
We want sufficient defense theory. You should vote on substance. They can see the explicit content of the biometric technology helps prevent explicit content on the internet, which ensures psychological abuse and turns the internet link to their impacts. That is the only piece of offense of the round. Let's go to the theory shell. First, extend the interpretation. Debaters must ask their opponents to meet specific disclosure norms when talking about disclosure. They have not read a counter-interpretations. They've said that counter-interpretation comes first. And this is a theory about their theory shell, which means we inherently uplayer. This solves the in-round abuse. Just ask us and we would have uploaded the document, which means there is no in-round abuse in the first place. But they've considered the independent reason. Maybe they're not nitpicking, but the theory is a debate about debate, i.e. the norms we should be establishing. If you had asked us, then we were able to meet the norm, but the alternative is people nitpicking disclosure, saying you can do X, Y, and Z, and it's not what you do, it's what you justify, always on scope, and massively. Our one round of not disclosing does not outweigh the theory nitpicking that they're going for in this round. Again, we're not saying that you have nitpick, but you justify nitpicking, which turns all of your offense. It means that disclosure as a norm incredibly collapses. They have dropped this entirely. No one will ever disclose if they believe there are impossible thresholds to meet, which means disclosure as an activity dies, turns all of the links into their fairness, because that is the ultimate abuse of fairness in this entire round. They have not weighed their shell against this. Do not let them do it in their next speech. They then say that fairness comes first. This was new weighing in their last week, so I get new answers. Remember the argument I made in rebuttal. Even if they prove some marginal increase or decrease of fairness, that's largely inevitable. If we prove that there's a substance matter, which there has been, because they spend all the time on theory, you should sufficiently err on substance. Look at our wiki. It is pretty good. We disclose after most rounds. They say the doc's not working. Just check the team notes. We have contact information listed. All of these will be reasonably. This could be my last round. This is a stupid way to lose, given that there are so many ways this round could have been avoided. Then on their counter-inter, they say, or on their inter, they say we must disclose, and that's key to fairness. The only standard they're extending is fairness, and they extended in-round abuse. First, they have not picked what is more important, in-round abuse or out-of-round abuse. I have said that out-of-round abuse is more important, which means you should default to it, otherwise they get to pick whatever they want. Then they say that in-round fairness is skewed. That is impossible to measure, but the implications of dropping the team on theory as they extend, because it sets norms, does outweigh. The interp does not have a counter-interp, and our theory shell uplayers theirs. Their only responses are defensive, and we solve their counter-interp by asking them to contact us.
Okay, wait. Trey, my computer, I think it died.
You want to use mine? What doc do you think? Yeah. That's not the right one. Here it goes.
So the order of the speech is just going to be on the debaters must ask shell, and then it's going to be on the weighing, and then it's going to be our shell. So basically following the same structure as final focus. In his final focus, Ishan is literally begging for a way to vote for him. Let's go into specific responses. On like the counter-interp shell, he says that this uplayer's theory, there's no argument as to why this uplayer's theory, because they've conceded so many responses about why they've conceded that they're going to only do it for this round specifically, but they've conceded norm setting, and this is not going to happen for any single round after this. But then second of all, they say that it's going to cause like silly theory debates. The problem is this has happened for so long, and also it's non-verifiable that this is going to create silly theory debates in the first place, and also that they would have disclosed if we had asked them. All of it is just completely unverifiable. Also, all this weighing about how this comes before any other shell is completely new and final focus is abusive for me to respond to it. Let's go on to his multiple other responses. First of all, he says that this fairness wing is completely new coming in summary. No, it's not. We had it in case that says that fairness is intrinsic to the judge's ballot, because when you read arguments, the judge has to decide what is fair in the first place. So even if they make arguments as to why the substance debate is being crowded out, the reason why you read arguments in the first place is because the judge has to decide whether they're fair or not. At that point, you can accept all the way. That was from case. That says that in-round abuse is the most important because that's the only thing the judge is valid can evaluate. Scope of solvency weighing is completely drops in the open case of PF 2023 making, and was 60 minutes after the last round of the day. Violation is that they didn't. Let's go to the specific warrants we're going for. We're going for fairness specifically. They've had since 10 p.m. last night to prop us out. They literally had 12 hours to prop out every single one of our positions. And when they disclosed this morning, their job didn't even work. A and B, they could have disclosed directly after the dubs are, even when they broke new, and we have evidence that they did. At that point, you drop the debater because you know for sure that you're setting better norms outside of debate. The role of ballot is for scope of solency. We say that you have better scope of solency if you're holding back against the abuse they did. The abuse story is super duper clear. Anything else?
In round abuse comes first.
Oh, yeah,
Anything the judge about.
Yeah, I already said that.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Round
Round
up.
down.